Eddie Perez is the latest Connecticut politician to get fingerprinted and have his picture taken by police. The Democratic Hartford mayor was arrested last week on bribery charges related to renovations done on his house by a city contractor. Now, Perez insists he has done nothing wrong. But for those of you who say this all sounds too familiar, well, it should. You might say with the recent arrest of Hartford Mayor Eddie Perez, it's the same story, different politician. First, there's the apology.
I am deeply sorry for how my actions have impacted my city and my family.
That's what's most tragic. I've hurt and angered people that I've spent my entire adult life trying to serve.
Then the adamant denial.
I never have traded my public office for the private benefit. I am deeply disturbed by the allegations contained in the warrant affidavit.
But I want you all to know that I have never, not once, provided any favors.
I'm innocent of these charges. They're lies. I've never taken one dime as a part of a conspiracy.
I did not ever violate the public trust.
Politicians in trouble have been known to cry.
I've abused alcohol and used cocaine occasionally.
We've even heard their friends curse. Do you think it was harsh? By no means are we saying that Mayor Perez is guilty of anything. By law, he is innocent until proven otherwise. But what we are saying is that what he is saying, well, it sounds awfully familiar.
That is why I intend to serve out my term and complete the job that I was hired to do.
Unless there be no doubt that I intend to remain as mayor of the city of Bridgeport.
Kind of brings it all back, doesn't it, gentlemen? And here now to discuss the Perez case are the former chief state's attorney, Chris Morano, Rick Hancock, who before his years in television worked as a press secretary for Marion Barry, and last but not least, Mr. Kevin Rennie, Hartford current columnist and former lawmaker. We want to say I did not include Phil Giordano in that only because, although it was federal charges, it was tied more with that terrible sex crime, and I think even linking him in that story, those guys didn't even deserve that. So let's start first off with you, Mr. Hancock. You kind of have some experience here in public relations. Crisis public relations. But more interestingly enough, we had talked before, you said a few years back you had a discussion with Mayor Perez.
Yeah, I sure did. Stan Simpson and I from the columns to Hartford Current, we were asked by some of his political operatives just to sit down and get the lay of the land, just kind of see what the media's take on his candidacy would be. And it was around the same time that the Joe Ganim stuff was going down, and he was, Eddie was pretty adamant saying that this will never happen to me. And it's sort of kind of happened to him.
It seems like that's what they all say. And there's like a play script as well as far as what do they say once they're arrested. We're going to talk more in the second segment about the arrogance that seems to be involved with politicians and in politics in general. But let's go right to you, Mr. Morano. First of all, it's good to see you. We're glad to see you back on television. We do miss seeing you around. This is the first time a corruption case is being tried on the state level, though, correct? I mean,
well, it's not the first one. There were arrests for bribery under the Austin McGuigan regime. There were quite a few cases brought then. Then that type of stuff dropped off for a while. And then what this is the continuation of the public integrity unit that was started some time ago, and now it's matured, and now it's now matured. The experience is showing, and they have utilized a grand jury to get evidence.
Let's talk a little bit quickly about the matchup, then we're going to go over to you, Mr. Rennie. The matchup pits Kevin Kane, as the current state's attorney, against chief state's attorney. Yep. I know, against Hubert Santos, who is Perez's attorney. We actually have a still store of the two, if you'd like to put that up right now. This is an interesting match. Why?
Well, these two have crossed swords before. They're both excellent prosecutor in Mr. Kane, excellent defense attorney in Mr. Santos, probably two of the state's best. But in reality, what you're going to have here is you're going to have Mr. Kane's case, which has been prepared by his office, saying that work was done, that in exchange, unparalleled access was given to that contractor who had city contracts, and wrinkles were smoothed out when he had problems. On the other side, Mr. Santos is going to say, that's all based upon what the contractor says. Show us the beef. He made a little bit different, but he was like the little old lady in the commercial. Show us the beef, and the battle's going to go on. The difference is I don't think you'll see Mr. Kane trying this case. He has competent prosecutors that are going to probably try it, but I believe that he will be watching it very closely and guiding them.
How strong is a case, Mr. Reddy?
Well, I think it's a strong case based on how Eddie Perez acted when he discovered that he was being investigated for not paying for renovations to his house. And so he really, he hurt himself when he then started to try to backfill. It's also, one reason that it's a strong case that may have nothing to do with the facts is that Connecticut doesn't trust politicians anymore, and there's a predisposition to think they're probably guilty.
I wonder why.
That's that hurts the defendants.
There are a lot of good politicians, though. I really don't want to use a broad brush.
But in terms of when you gather
Public
a jury
perception,
and a politician in Connecticut who's on trial, there's going to be a sense that this person probably did something.
Rick, you're trying to interject.
You're trying to interject. And I read the affidavit, read the arrest warrant, and not that I'm wishing any ill will on the mayor, but I would like to see more. I'd like to see a pattern. To me, it seems like a really bad ethics case. It's probably going to hurt his career politically forever. I'm just not. He made a really dumb mistake. These guys are lawyers. I'm not, so they probably have a better read on if he will be convicted or not. But from my perspective, I would like to see more of a pattern.
But when you have the city contractor saying, though, he just assumed he had to do $40,000 worth of work to get the city contract from a woman who's covered a lot of federal prosecutions, that to me seems to be.
Did he believe that, or was Eddie? Did Eddie tell him that?
The point isn't going to be what was the intent of Mr. Costa. The point's going to be what was the intent of Mr. Perez.
Right.
And you're going to see Mr. Santos take the line of attack that you're hearing Mr. Hancock say. It's been a while. He's going to say, show us more. But as Mr. Rennie said, what the government will turn around and say is it's not the initial actions, it's going to be the attempted so-called cover-up or consciousness of guilt actions. Saying to a prosecutor investigator, oh, I have a check, and then running out the same day to get the loan so you can get the check to pay for the process.
And I agree with that. That's where Eddie messed up.
What about, Kevin? What about the fact that...
It's like when Roland lied about the hot tub.
Right.
That wasn't a mistake. That was a strategic mistake on his part. But what the mistake was, having it done and not paying for it.
And waiting years. Well, he was also trying to blame this on his health. His wife's, excuse me, he was trying to blame this on the health of his wife, which to me seems a little bit of a stretch.
But do you go to jail for that? I mean, I guess okay. I mean, that's where you can, and I think it's more because of what the mayor did afterwards. I think if he was straight, I didn't pay this, I should have paid it. He didn't lie. He didn't try to produce a check after the fact. I'm not sure it would have.
I want to take a break here, though. Not quick. We're going to toss to a tape actually with the attorney for Eddie Perez. I thought this was perhaps the most interesting thing of the entire press conference. Take a listen to the tape. Here we go.
So where is the crime, Mr. Kane of the Chief State's Attorney's Office? Most certainly not in these papers. But at least if you're going to destroy an administration, particularly run by one of the few minority mayors in the state of Connecticut, the least we could ask of the prosecutor's office is to allege a crime.
Okay, he said, is he really playing the race card here?
Of course he is, and he would. Again, you set up that I worked for the former mayor of Washington, D.C., and Marion Barry changed his name to an African name and started wearing dashikis and really started to play to the base because you're courting the jury now. I mean,
but in a state that's gone after white mayors, African-American senators, I suppose that's on the federal level, but John Rowland also had come up under the state investigation. I mean, come on, Chris.
But that's
Do you find that ludicrous?
Nobody can marshal facts for the defense better than Hubie Santos. I've seen it for years. That is one thing he'll say. He will then attack the prosecution saying the motivation for this case is because they want to bring themselves to the same level of prosecution success in public integrity cases as the feds. He will attack Costa saying he's the guy who's the cornerstone of the state's case and he is, lying because he needs to save his own skin. He will use all sorts of things, and he will marshal facts in a way that he has done many, many times, and he can be successful.
I know, but playing the race card, come on. It's got to be a stretch after all the cases that have been tried.
It really is abhorrent to invoke something like that. Look, Eddie Perez, when it first became public what he did, he admitted he had done something wrong. Now, he didn't admit he had committed a crime, but this is not. This did not come out of nowhere. And to say that he is being prosecuted because he suggests that it's because he's Hispanic that is just an abomination.
And there's one other thing here. He was not speaking to a court or a jury. He's done something I've never seen him do before. He came out and he gave a press conference. That's not Hugo Santos' style. He did it because he was speaking to a different type of jury, and those are the constituents. And that's who he was speaking to, and that might be why he went the way he went. He'll never say that in a courtroom, I'll bet
And he also did that because he knew Kevin Kane wouldn't talk. If you were still the chief state's attorney, would you have held a press conference to counterbalance
Not to that level, because prosecutors are held to stricter standards as to what they can say, and Kevin knows that, and he's not going to jeopardize his case. He's going to say it where it counts, and that's in the courtroom.
Rick, real quick.
Chris, was there a sense of jealousy with all the prosecution that the feds were comporting here in the state, that you guys wanted a piece of that action, and now you have a piece of that action?
No, I think what there was, it was a feeling that we wanted to step up and take care of our responsibilities, because for years that wasn't being done. Those embryonic steps started then, and now they are going to get better and better as time goes on.
Okay, gentlemen, we have to take a quick break, okay? So don't move.